You're listening to the Jiu-Jitsu Lou podcast, and I'm Lou Temlett. I'm guessing you're having a good day because either you've been on the mats, considering getting on the mats, or taking your best friend to train. I'm so happy you're here listening or watching this episode. Please don't tap out before the end. When you want to feel safe and accepted, start training Jiu-Jitsu. I'd like to welcome Kerry Davidson to my podcast.
Hello.
Hi, Kerry. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good.
Fantastic. I noticed on your socials this morning that you were at a competition yesterday. Tell me more.
Yes, I was at the E034 Europe competition held in Brighton. It's one my club do regularly, and my feet haven't really touched the ground yet. I'm still buzzing from it. I had a really good day there. It was my third ever competition, and I came away with 2 golds and a bronze. But the bronze feels amazing because it was an absolute category with a blue belt as a white belt. So I'm just buzzing that I did it, to be honest.
Oh, Kerry, that sounds amazing. Now, I've been following your journey on Instagram. I'm familiar with your documentary. So if any of the listeners haven't already seen it, go and have a look in the show notes because I'll pop the link in there. But you're very much in a mindset of immersing yourself in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and you got the bug for training and kind of competing some time ago. So tell me about when you first started competing.
So I first started competing in December 2023, so not that long ago, 6 months. I've been training for 3 years, or nearly 3 years, and it took me that long to kind of buck up the courage to put myself on the competition mats.
I think it's amazing. Having recently put myself in for a competition, not because I didn't want to, but because there were a lack of kind of competitors and opponents in my age and weight category. And I was really pleased that I did. But tell me specifically, if you can kind of draw your mind back, hopefully not too difficult, to your first competition. Why and how and what happened?
Why? Because I just had this compulsion that I had to compete. I've suffered with anxiety for quite some time in quite a serious way, and I wanted to overcome that. I'm a very determined individual. I have this high anxiety but this high determination, so it's like, right, I've got to overcome this. And I tried actually 3 times. I'd signed up and I'd actually pulled out, so not because there weren't matches like you, but I just couldn't face it. And then I just was like, right, I'm going to do this. I did a lot of mental work. I even had EMDR, which is a trauma therapy, to help me overcome that, the nerves. I highly recommend it. And I just had to. There wasn't really much more than that, but I just knew I had to do this for myself. I had to put myself out there and give it a go. I had to do something scary.
Oh, I love it. I think, firstly, congratulations for stepping on the training mats and actually starting Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But I do think in life we have to attempt, or we're kind of driven to find something new and exciting and something that gets us out of our comfort zone. Some of us live our daily lives without the challenge. And whilst it's lovely to live a drama-free life, sometimes having that excitement and drive and focus on one thing can be really positive.
It can be very exhilarating. It can be very stressful on one side, but it's amazing as well.
Oh, I love this. Now,
do you know what? Oh, go on.
Go on. No,
I was going to say, do you know what I love? Like, in the process, in the experience, it can be really difficult. It can be really challenging. But once you've done it, no one can take that away from you.
Yeah.
And you're left with that sense of confidence and that self-belief. And it's like, I did that. And like, I'm 37 as well. I'm not a young thing. And I've got no previous sporting experience. And it's like, I've done that. That's cool.
Oh, that is amazing, cheering on yourself, because I think, we've really got to stand up for ourselves and
absolutely
prove our own worth to ourselves, not to anybody else, but to us as individuals. So you've done, obviously, kind of growing up, we have to do the mandatory PE and school sports. So there was nothing else kind of sporting in your kind of young adult life that led you to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Nothing whatsoever. In fact, the one thing that I think is probably quite relevant is my PE teacher at secondary school. So I would have only been about 12. She thought I was pretty good at discus, and she entered me into a Kent regional discus competition. And because I was a very nervous young child, which I didn't even realise back then,
Yeah.
I failed every single one. So it was like this competition trauma. And I think that was part of why I had to do it again, like 25 years later. I had to come back to that and I had to overcome that. But no, there was a bit of yoga. I'd done quite a lot of yoga, so I was quite flexible. I tried running, but I didn't like running. And actually, I got an injury from running that needed surgery. And before I actually got on the mats, we'd had COVID, and I'd been lazy for 3 years. I hadn't done anything. So I was very unfit, very out of shape. Really, I am not a sporty person whatsoever.
Yes. So being defeated at school competition and then finding your energy and just needing to resolve that past kind of, competition trauma. And it happened to be Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competition.
It did.
And it sounds like you've kind of got a little bit of an addiction for competing now. Tell me a bit about that.
I think when you do it, like, then like the only way to know this feeling is to do it, to put yourself out there and try it. There's something about it. It's not like normal training. It's not like sparring. Even if you try and set up competition sparring, it's not like that. Yeah. There is this energy that is just incredible, and you do it whether you do well or whether you lose. Like whether you win or whether you lose. Obviously, doing well could be still a loss, but you've performed really great. There's just something about it. It's really affirming. It's really empowering. And yeah, I am a bit addicted, although I am going to have a little bit of a break from this one because it takes over my life a bit. And I'm going to come back to it next year, and I want to do one of the IBJJF comps. And I'm inspired by you, Lou, because you put yourself out there, you went abroad and you did it. And I'm going to do that next year. I'm going to go abroad and I'm going to do one of the big comps.
Fantastic. For me, yes, it was absolutely exhilarating. But, the come down after that is another thing to deal with, because I realised that, there wasn't the excitement, there wasn't the energy, even if I didn't feel nervous. It's then that loss, kind of almost that grieving process when you finished a competition. And I was chatting with a parent at the school playground and kind of talking about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, as you do, to people that you might not know very well, because it's a good opener. But I used to be involved with a lot of amateur dramatics and stuff as like a teenager and young adult, and then when the show finishes, there's that loss, and you're going, where are all my teammates? Where are all my fellow people that love this thing? And now suddenly it's not here. And it's kind of that sort of feeling as well. So, yes.
Do you know what? I haven't experienced that so much myself. I think my club is quite a small family club, and there's always this lovely vibe of like togetherness and kind of almost celebration even. Like we're always celebrating each other's successes. And I think we come out of out of competitions just like eager to do the next one. We kind of miss that bit of a slump.
That's really positive, and I hope that anyone that does compete continues to be on that upward spiral of just getting into the next one. So whilst you're saying you're going to take a break from competing, you've done 3 competitions in the space of 6 months.
Correct.
Which is incredible. So you really have floated on a wave of competing, winning or losing. Now, tell me about what it feels like to win, because I've not been fortunate enough to be in this position, and I'm grateful for my experience because it's always about learning. But tell me about what it really feels like to win and stand on that podium that I swear I couldn't step up on because it's too high.
Yes, you could.
With the gold.
I'm not going to lie, it's the most incredible feeling in the world. It's, all that hard work. Like, let's not forget, jiu-jitsu is hard, especially for us women. We're black and blue a lot of the time, literally with all the bruises, the injuries. Then you've got to train, then you're rolling around with all these different people. And then you've got like this plethora of information that you have to try and take in and remember under stressful conditions. And then you put yourself on a mat and you're assessed almost for it. So when you actually do it right, it's like, yes, I can do it. I'm sure, Lou, you've probably had many a times when you walk away from training, you're like, oh, I can't do this. This is too hard. I'm rubbish, not getting anywhere. I can't do that sweep or whatever. But you go to comp and you're matched hopefully fairly with someone equal weight, equal age, equal size, equal ranking. And it's like, whoa, I can do this. It's incredible.
I love the fact that we all have different experiences. I don't quite echo some of the things you've said, and you don't echo the things that I've said. And I think this is the place for learning, that we all have
absolutely
such different experiences. But I'm inspired equally by you with the energy,
which is probably a bit elevated today because it was only yesterday that I competed, so I'm still in it. Might be a bit more grounded if it had been a few days after.
I love it, and I will be very much looking forward to seeing your IBJJF registration and all of your stories on socials, because one of the things that Amy in the last episode said, if you can see it and visualize it, you can be it. And I think that's one of the things, having these ideas and going, yeah, I can do that, or I've seen that person do that, I can do that too. And I think that's the inspiration, that seeing such amazing women in the field of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu really is inspiring from so many perspectives.
I couldn't agree more. And
just giving us the ideas.
I'm not big on social. I'm really kind of just like starting with it really. But I've made some like little YouTube videos and done some bits and done the documentary, as you say. And what helped me when I first competed was watching other jiu-jitsu matches, female jiu-jitsu matches on YouTube. I found like, wow, people put this online. And I was like, oh, okay, it's not so intimidating as I thought. Like maybe I can do that. I can do that move. And it helped me. And I kind of, coming from a very real place, like you don't have to be an athlete. You can be a bit older. You can be bigger, smaller, any size. It doesn't matter. Like just go out there and give it a go. Have fun with it. It's brilliant.
Absolutely. Yes, I'm with you all the way, and I don't know how else to express my excitement and encouragement for anyone just to start, continue, and just kind of grow the number of years and experiences that we have in our Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah, that's all great. This is a Jiu-Jitsu Lou podcast with me, Lou Temlett, coming to you from the UK. Go and check out the latest video clips over on ju.jitsu.lu on Instagram. And as you're listening or watching on your favourite podcast platform, I'd really appreciate you dropping the show a rating and a review. Today, I'm having a conversation with Kerry Davidson, fresh from competition experience. Let's continue for a little bit about competing and the support that you have around you when you go to competition.
So I'm very lucky in that my club, we like to do this one particular competition, the E034 in Brighton. So there's a lot of us that go, and even people who aren't competing will go and support. It's about an hour and a half from where we are, so it's relatively easy to get to, and Brighton's just lovely. So there's that team, there's that community spirit, and that's lovely. That's like really being held by something lovely. I've also got my boyfriend, who is my main coach, although there is a head coach above him. But obviously we live together, we train together, we do a lot together, and he loves coaching, and he's also a great big nerd in jiu-jitsu. So he's there by my side, and he will mat coach me as well, because I didn't know this, but you can have a mat coach. So which I think is almost like cheating. But you're on the mats and you're struggling, and you just look over to your coach and they're like, do this. And you're like, yeah, okay then, thank you. So yeah, for anyone who's scared, you can have a mat coach, and that's fine.
I think that's a really good idea, actually, because often there's, positions that you're in that you can't see the gaps and the opportunities. And if someone was kind of spotting for you and going, do this or do that, that sounds like a winning combination, Kerry.
Yeah, it definitely helps. When they're like, get that underhook, and you're like, oh, yeah. But within our club, there's always a coach there for whoever's competing. So everyone within our club has that mat coach experience when they go to competition. I think that's a really supportive part of the process for us all.
No, that's fantastic. Now, you mentioned that your boyfriend is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Tell me about how that is, because you haven't always been dating someone in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
No.
Prior to that, you've been single for some time. How is the experience for you? Because I know some of us come to the mats where we've got partners, some of us are single, some of us have different experiences, but dating somebody that is involved, with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah. So I've got experience on both sides. My first 18 months of training, I was single. So I've got that experience going to classes on my own, often being the only woman with 30 men. Very intimidating experience, but I did it. And then I met my partner, and he trains jiu-jitsu. He's trained for a lot longer than me. He's a brown belt. And on the whole, it's amazing. We have this shared interest. So we're very connected in that respect. And because he knows so much more than me, he's great to learn from. I've always got a drilling partner, so I'm not kind of standing on the edge of the mats waiting for someone to pick me. And that's, that makes it easier. I will be honest, that does make it easier. It makes me feel a lot more relaxed coming to classes.
Yeah. Just on a side note, I was considering kind of getting hold of a grappling dummy to practice some of the kind of, the moves the other day. And I was like, what would I do with a grappling dummy? It's like, no, not in a bad way, no. But just like, where do you store a grappling dummy when you don't want them anymore? You can't.
Do you know what? We've actually got one. It's my partner's, but he's called Fred. And for a long time, we just sat him on the sofa. When we weren't using him, we just sat him on the sofa. I'd really recommend it for doing some of the positional stuff. It's not the same as a human, but really helpful for solo drilling.
Oh, well, both my young children train, but it's not quite the same when you want to, really go in with some of the moves.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on from the grappling dummy bit. Another podcast, another story.
I'll bring Fred along next time.
Okay, so let's talk about your white belt experience and how you found the progress over the time you've been training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, kind of overcoming the anxiety in the first instance, and then the kind of transition to, where you are now and the successes and maybe challenges that you're experiencing.
Yeah. I don't know where to start, really. I think the first thing is it's been really hard. It's been nearly 3 years, and it's, it's a continual effort. It's a continual struggle. Often not being able to understand stuff, not being able to get moves, people submitting you all the time.
Yeah.
It's been really hard. I don't know what more to say than that. It's taken a lot for me to keep going, and there have been many moments where I've been like, I'm quitting this, I can't do this anymore. But something inside has kept me going. I think the boyfriend has probably helped that as well, and the competition experience. Although my second comp I had a loss, which I didn't take very well. and I really was close to quitting then. The injuries side of it, like that was quite hard. Nothing serious, but lots of bruises, lots of strains, lots of tweaked knees. But I think there's also something in that struggle. There's something about continuing on. There's something about not giving up. There's something about letting yourself actually sometimes taking some time out. Like there are times when I've had 4 weeks off because I just can't face it. I can't deal with it. But then you go back. And for me, I've always said, I've been a bit kind of against some of the philosophies out there, but like be the snail, be the tortoise even, be the tortoise, not the hare. This is a long game. 10 to 20 years, we know that, if not forever, continually learning. And so go at your own pace. So that's what I've done. I've gone at my own pace.
I think that's really important to, as women, kind understanding our own pace. We have so many responsibilities.
Absolutely.
And it's having that balance. But also, it sounds like not giving yourself too much of a hard time if it's just not that time. And that's okay. We know the reason why we started is the reason why we're going to keep going back again and again and again. But it's one of those healthy relationships in our lives with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that is for the better of our kind of physical and mental well-being going forwards. I think
absolutely. And it's about doing that with balance, and recognizing what you can do and being flexible as well. So sometimes I can train a bit more, sometimes I train a bit less. And I think as women, it's really important to talk about our menstrual cycles as well and training. I know that there's a particular time every single month where everything hurts more, where I've got no energy, where I just don't want to be beaten up. And so I might take a week off that week and then I come back to it. And I just don't give myself a hard time for that. I just know I can do it when I can do it, and I can't when I can't, and that's okay.
And I think having the kind of rankings and the situation, knowing that this is, a 20-year lifelong, much longer than 20 years journey, that there's no immediacy to rush. We're not in our teenage or 20 years. We're kind of a bit older than that, and it just has to fit in with life and everything else that we're trying to deal with. So I think it's lovely experiencing the lack of urgency with it all. And then when there is an urgency, for me, that's certainly a red flag. It's like, well, what's all this about? It's a very steady process. And I think, that's one of the really positive things to be aware of, that, it's a steady process. And if you don't learn 1 week, or you feel like you're not learning, it'll come back maybe a month later, maybe 6 months later, and that's okay.
It's okay. It's okay, but I also think it's easier said than done, particularly when you're training with the same people. Everyone's training together, and they might be going more, or they might be more just able to pick it up more. So they're getting better, and you're not, and it can be difficult to kind of have that kind of humbleness and be like, it's okay. There have been many a times where I've had to come back to myself and be like, it's my journey, not anyone else's, and I'm taking it at my speed.
And that's the bit where you actually need to put the comparison and the comparing with other people. You're comparing yourself with yourself yesterday or the day before or last year. You hadn't even started competing 6 months ago, and now
exactly. I know, done three. I know, mad.
And
won some as well, like bad.
And stood on that top podium with a gold medal.
With golds from yesterday.
How many golds?
Two golds.
2 double gold.
One bronze. I think I've got 5 golds now, Lou, and 1 silver and 1 bronze. So
love it. Making up for that lack of discus experience when you're a teenager.
37 years of sporting experience in 6 months.
I love that. Okay, there's no urgency, but Kerry's one to look at in terms of her journey. I think how, like we were saying, it's having that inspirational individual that is humble like yourself, and you're just doing your thing, but actually that's achievable. Somebody has done it. I was watching, okay, this is going to be a bit of a throwback. I was watching Top Gun with my son over the weekend, and the new Top Gun. But we did the new one first and then the old one, just to try and kind of cross match. And then I was explaining the story, from our teenage years watching it or whatever. But the fact that flight took place, he proved that he could do it. So anyone can do those things. So if you can see it and, someone's already done it, well, then you can do it too. Go and watch Top Gun.
I love that. Like, that inspires me. And what inspires me more than that is to be that for someone else. Like, let's keep paying it forward. Let's keep helping everyone. Let's keep lifting people up, especially us women.
Yes.
And especially in the male-dominated jiu-jitsu world as well. Be very political, but...
I love it. But I also want to come back to why you started jiu-jitsu in terms of kind of safety and security and feeling accepted. Tell me about how you started and what made you kind of start.
So there's two things that really played into why I started. The first was that I felt really unsafe as a woman. We just had the Sarah Everard story, and I was just really aware that as a woman, I think we've all had different experiences that we can draw upon that kind of make us, just feel a bit unsafe in the world, having to watch our backs without, like, very unconscious, very ingrained in us. It's not safe as a woman in this world. And I knew I had to do something with that. I was living on my own. I was a single woman. There was a lot of dog theft at the time as well. I was worried someone was going to attack my dog and I'd have to do something. So I started with self-defense, and I was like, yeah, I'd like this. And then I kind of fell into jiu-jitsu. It was a recommendation of a friend. The other side of it was I'd had an ADHD diagnosis, trying to learn and understand about myself and continually better myself. And I tried the medication, wasn't for me. And the second thing they recommend for ADHD is exercise, and in particular martial arts. And it's actually the first kind of exercise that I've done where I don't lose interest. Like, I've tried some bits, but I just find them boring. Whereas this is such a mental challenge. It gives me that challenge aspect that I love. So two things really: feeling kind of more empowered, feeling stronger, feeling like I've got some kind of self-defense skill, but also helping myself mentally, finding some acceptance in myself, accepting that, this is something, like I have this neurodivergence, but it's not necessarily the end of the world. And actually there are things that I can do that are organic things that will help me, and improving my mental health, improving my anxiety, lifting depression, just feeling better about myself, feeling more confident.
Good. I think, thank you for sharing both of those things about the kind of, the self-defense and the neurodiversity. I think that it's really key to find ways to support ourselves, our mental kind of stability, mental growth, and physical development as well. We're not, we're trying to work through and just level life out a bit and just make life a bit easier. And I think, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, as we both found, gives such another dimension in life that we can talk to anyone, anywhere about.
Yeah. Do you know what, Lou? I'd say it's made my life 3D. Like, it's gone from 2D to 3D. It's been really cool.
Oh, you'll have to explain that one a bit more. So,
I don't know. So, what do I mean by that? It's like, I don't know if I can explain it anymore, if I'm honest. Okay. It's just brought this extra dimension, which is, I think, what you said. And it's like life is in Technicolor now rather than in black and white. it hits so many spots. Like, for example, when I'm rolling, I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm really mindful. And that's one of the first times I've ever really experienced that. My mind is very, very busy. It's constantly racing. I can be thinking about a million and one things at once. But, when you're getting choked out, or when someone's trying to put a maneuver on you, you can't think about that. So I actually find it quite peaceful and quite relaxing. It really helps me in that way. The physical exercise, you come out of particularly a no-gi open mat or something, and you're dripping with sweat, and you're like, I have had a serious workout there. And you might have a bit of DOMS, you ate for a few days, but it feels good. And feeling stronger as you go through the journey, and you start feeling strong, and you're like, wow, this feels good to feel strong. And then there's the community and the sense of belonging as well. Like, you find like-minded people, and you bond over this thing called jiu-jitsu. And then it expands, and these people have their lives, and you learn about different life experiences, and you make friends, and it's just brilliant. So it's just enhanced everything.
I can see how you've gone from potentially a 2D life and world to a 3D. It's all the dimensions that you may or may not have had in your previous life, as a female or single individual in the world, that actually jiu-jitsu has given you so many different dimensions to kind of bring the whole thing together.
My experience of being like a single woman, especially through COVID, like COVID was horrendous, was very lonely. I spent a lot of COVID on my own, and that was not a good experience. So it was a very grey time. And I found this sport, and it's really developed into something very beautiful.
That's fantastic. Now, I'm going to ask you what's next, but I know you've got the IBJJF aspiration for 2025. Dare you put out there which competition you're going to go in for?
Well, I'm not sure they've released them yet, but I know there's one in January. I think it's kind of just like a Europeans or something like that. If not that one, the Masters one that you did. But I'm waiting for them all to be released. And it'll be like, I assume it'll be white belt, Masters, medium heavy, my normal category.
Fantastic. I would recommend Barcelona, IBJJF Masters. It's a fantastic city. Take a bit of extra time, get some tourist things in as well. I'm very much looking forward to going back and visiting again. Maybe not the Masters. I don't know. Well, I mean, maybe. We might have to arrange it.
If you do it, Lou, then I'm going to have to do it. So we'll have to do it together.
Okay, I'm clocking up the matches here. I've got Amy from the last one. I've got you.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I think we might be a big cohort of us going out for IBJJF Masters in Barcelona next year, 2025. Anyone wants to join us, drop us a DM, and we'll get it organised. A little coach party. No, I hate coaches. Let's fly.
Jiu-Jitsu Lou crew.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay. Any masters out there? Any over 31s? DM. Kerry, thank you so much for joining me on my show for this episode. I'm very much looking forward to seeing your journey, and equally being inspired by your progress and just your tenacity to keep showing up for competitions. I think it's amazing. Go and follow Kerry's journey over on her Instagram. I will pop those in the show notes. Also go and have a look at a documentary, but I feel like there might be a new documentary coming up.
There will be. It takes hours to edit these things, so it might be a few weeks, but there's something in production already. Yes.
I love it. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for joining me, and I will be in touch very soon.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for telling your friends about this show. And as soon as this episode ends, I'd really appreciate you dropping the show a rating and a review. Thanks again for listening. Catch you on the next episode of the Jiu-Jitsu Lou podcast.